Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to the 2021 Fruit and Vegetable Conference Farmers Market Short Course. And we are very glad that you are able to join us today. And for those of you that couldn't join us live, I know that you'll benefit from the recording at a later time. We've worked very hard to put together a great lineup today and think everybody will really enjoy it. We'll get started here in just 1 second. I just want to say, like Cindy said, if you have any questions, please just drop them in the chat or the Q&A. We will try to answer them as we go along. At the very end, we will have an open Q&A session where we can cover different topics if there's anything that doesn't relate to what's covered here today. Also, at the end of the webinar, if we go past 6 o'clock, especially for the Q&A, please feel free to drop off if you need to. We totally understand, but if there is good discussion going on, we'll definitely keep it going for a little while after that. So to get us started, we have social media for farmers markets and vendors. Ms. Wendy Abbott is a social media coordinator and media assistant at the College of Agriculture, Community and Sciences for Kentucky State University. Wendy was not able to join us in person, but has a recorded presentation that we will be showing you. And we will drop her email in the chat so everybody can see that. So if you have any specific questions about anything she covers, please feel free to reach out to her. And once again, she regretted not being able to be here this evening, but had other commitments. So Cindy, if you want to go ahead and start that video.
Hello and welcome to the Social Media and Small Scale Farms presentation. I'm Wendy Abbott and I'll be your host. I am the social media manager for the land grant program at Kentucky State University. I hold a bachelor's degree in marketing and business administration, and I've worked in digital media since 2012 in various roles, everything from content marketing to community management, demand generation. I've been a jack of all trades, but social media is really my home and really what I'm the most passionate about. So I'm hoping I can share some of my experience with you today and that you can take some things away that you can use for your businesses and small farms. On a personal note, I've been a social media user since MySpace, so I've been using social media since the very, very beginning. Our agenda for today will go as follows. We'll start with the basics of social media. This I'll only briefly touch on. Then we'll go to decoding social media and some of the nuances that you might experience as you manage social media. Third, and probably most important, we'll talk about generating content. As I call it, feeding the social media beast. There's a never-ending need for content on social media. So I'll give you some ideas of how to get started and what to do when you're stuck on content. And then we'll move to tools that make your life easier. These are all things that I personally use to manage social media day in and day out. And they are all free or have free options with more paid features available. And then last, I'll leave you with some final words of wisdom. So to start, let's start with the basics. Social media is the ultimate equalizer. It gives a voice and a platform to anyone willing to engage. And these are some top platforms that we'll cover today, some more in depth than others. Facebook, of course, has 2.23 billion users. It's one of the largest and one that's been around the longest. I recommend you post 1 to 3 times a day there. It's really good for promoting especially events and building communities. And if you have a Facebook page, you can also build sub-communities for really specific topics. You can build Facebook groups. Instagram's not too far behind at 1 billion users. I recommend about 1 post a day there, and it's really good for visual branding and building connections. Twitter has 326 million users. You can post 10 plus times a day there. These are much shorter, more frequent updates. It's really good for news and PR, connecting with influencers, and of course, joining large conversations using a hashtag. Pinterest has 250 million users. You can pin up to 30 pins a day. You're not going to be clogging up people's feeds as much as you would with other social media platforms, so feel free to post a lot. This is really great if you have a website or a blog. Pinterest is a powerhouse at driving all the traffic to your site, so especially if you have a presence online, be sure to use Pinterest. LinkedIn has 590 million users. You can post 1 to 2 times a day there. It's kind of similar to Facebook. You don't want to overrun it with content. It's especially good for recruiting and posting thought leadership content. So if you're trying to find new employees or if you want to be a thought leader in your industry, this is where you want to be posting. YouTube has 1.9 billion users, and if you're posting 1 video a week, you're doing really good because video takes a lot longer to produce than some of these other types of content. And YouTube is a search engine unto itself. It's really good for attracting new customers, for posting how-to content. So as you're putting together your strategy for YouTube, consider search terms that people are going to be looking for and the type of content that your specific audience is going to be wanting, which leads me to my next point. Who is your ideal customer? What are your goals and which platform fits your needs? Keep these questions in mind as we go throughout today's session, because only you know the answer to these questions and you know what's going to work best for you. You don't have to be everywhere. Your customers are not going to be everywhere. So pick the platforms and the strategy that works for you. And there's a quote here: social media is here. It's not going away. It's not a passing fad. So be where your customers are, and that's in social media. Next up, we have decoding social media. I'm going to be covering kind of some of the nuances you're going to experience. Sometimes it feels like you need a decoder ring to figure out what the heck's going on with social media. It has its own language, its own customs. It feels like learning a foreign language, basically, but I'm going to try to break it down for you, make it a little easier to understand. So let's talk hashtags. A hashtag is simply just a word or phrase preceded by the hash sign. These are used on social media and websites and applications to identify messages on a specific topic. That's it. They're just to categorize things. So again, we're going to go through each of these platforms and how best to use hashtags on each of them. So for Facebook, 1 to 2 hashtags is optimal, and that's even optional because Facebook doesn't really rely on hashtags like some of the others do. Instagram, you can use up to 30 hashtags per post, and this is a combination of if you want to include some hashtags in the main caption and some in a comment below, as some prefer to do. Either way, you only get 30 hashtags per post, and you want to use a mix of niche and common hashtags. So what a common hashtag is one that's been used, I'd say, over 100,000 times, and you will see those that are very common. I think love is the most hashtag termed ever on Instagram. So when you're figuring out your hashtag strategy, search those terms before you use them. See how often they've been used and use a mix of those ones that only have, a couple hundred posts versus a couple 100,000. And then you'll be able to reach the right audience and be able to grow, but also connect with a small audience. It's a delicate balance. Hashtags on Instagram can also be used to add humor to posts. Hashtags like "I woke up like this" and things like that. They don't always have to be very specific to that particular piece of content. They can be a little tongue-in-cheek, a little bit, satire, things like that. And also emojis are hashtagable on Instagram. So you can use one emoji, a string of emojis, whatever you decide to use. On Twitter, you want to use as many relevant hashtags as you can. Twitter is really where hashtags gained their popularity. You just have to keep in mind that you do have that 280 character limit, and that's not 280 words, it's 280 characters. So you have to be, you have to budget your words on Twitter. And also you can use hashtags to join large conversations. Every day, every minute of every day, there's things trending on Twitter based on tags, and you can join those conversations by using those tags in your own tweets. On Pinterest, you can use up to 20 hashtags, and this is to help categorize your pins and make them more searchable. Same thing with Instagram. You want to use a mix of common and niche hashtags, but unlike Instagram, you're going to want to use tags that are very specific to what that content is, that describe that content. Think rich keyword search terms and less humor on Pinterest. For LinkedIn, you're going to use just a handful of relevant hashtags, and I forgot to mention this earlier, similar to Instagram, you can follow a hashtag on LinkedIn and people will see that content curated for them in their home feed. It'll usually be a mix of the top posts for that tag that show up in their home feed. For YouTube, you can use up to 15 tags in the video description, and this helps greatly with getting your video discovered. So very similar to Pinterest, think keyword-rich terms when you're planning your hashtags. So when you're creating a tag for your brand, keep it short and sweet, something unique. Like I said before, search it first. Make sure it hasn't already been used a million times. This is an example I pulled from Eckert's Orchard, and they're located over in Versailles. And they're pretty new to Versailles, but I think they've done a really good job of building a community. So theirs is really simple. It's just hashtag Eckert's. They have in their bio that tells their users how to use it. Tag your favorite memories, hashtag Eckert's. And then what they do is they check that tag regularly and they repost users' content. And of course, they always drop a little comment first and ask for permission before reposting content. And I always recommend you do that. Do not repost things without people's permission. But this helps people get a real feel for how users are experiencing your business, especially if you have an agritourism business or even farmers market. People want to know what that experience is like and want to know what the Instagrammable moments are before they go to your business. So here's a list of hashtags that I've curated for you. I have a mix of daily hashtags, Kentucky hashtags, farm hashtags. I'd say most of these follow under the common hashtag category. The daily hashtags, so you can use things like Monday motivation, Throwback Thursday. These are probably things you've heard of. We've actually made Weird Plant Wednesday a part of our social media strategy. It's a little bit more of a niche hashtag, but it's really relevant to our brand because we have a farm and an environmental research center. So we have all these cool plants that are part of our research or just part of our farm and our center. So we want to showcase those each week. And so I post a little trivia with hashtag Weird Plant Wednesday. And this is something I do across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter because that's where it performs the best. And then things like the Kentucky hashtags, most of these are tourism related. So if you are, participating in agritourism, these are definitely tags you want to use, tags that will help you get reposted by main tourism sites. And then the farm hashtags like hashtag farm life, that's a fun one. I know that's one like Chip and Joanna Gaines use all the time. So this is just some ideas to get you started of what hashtags for your brand could look like. And just a quick note, because I am a touch OCD, please always capitalize the first letter of each word when you're hashtagging. This will help your hashtags be more readable. It'll help avoid any confusion if you have letters running together that could spell a word that you didn't mean to spell out. Just please always capitalize the first letter of each word. So moving on, let's talk emojis. Emojis are small digital image or icon that are used to express an idea, emotion, etc. And I'm going to cover real quick 5 ways to integrate emojis into your strategy. So number 1, emojify your products. Thankfully, the emoji developers have given us the gift of all these agriculture themed emojis, everything from livestock to plants to even farmer emojis. So there's no reason not to emojify your products when you're talking about them on social media. Emojis also help you convey tone of voice. So one drawback to social media is you're largely, cornered in with just using text. So to give a little more of the tone, you can add a wink, a smile, etc. And also one way to use it is to emphasize part of your message. If you follow us, you might see me using the megaphone emoji, or there's like an alarm bell emoji. I use these sparingly and only for big announcements because you don't want to feel like you're crying wolf all the time. But if you do have a big announcement or something exciting, use an emoji to call attention to that. Of course, they're fun and playful and add a little more personality to your brand. And like I mentioned before, emojis are actually hashtagable on Instagram. So here are some examples of what this could look like. So you can see I've emojified my first day of fall post and my decorative gourd. I used the jack-o'-lantern emoji. I've used emojis as bullet points because social media sites don't give you bullet points. So you can use those to break out your content and also make it more visual. And then you can see an example of where I've used an emphasis emoji for an important announcement we had for our students. And this is a free tool I just want to shout out real quick. It's getemoji.com. I use this like all the time because I prefer to schedule posts from a desktop. And this gives you the ability to search emojis, copy and paste them. Or just if you can't remember what an emoji is and you just can't find it anywhere on your phone, go here and type in like your best guess of the description and you'll pull up the emoji that you're looking for. So real quick, at mentioning versus tagging. An at mention is accomplished by placing the at symbol in front of somebody's username in a comment or your caption. And this is just to mention them or to get their attention. This is applicable as a practice across all social media sites. And then tagging, and I'm going to specifically talk about tagging on Instagram. Tagging is done within your original post, whether that's a photo or a video. You can tag up to 20 different accounts. And by doing this, it really helps increase the reach of your posts. Like you could tag relevant Kentucky news outlets. You can tag Country Living Magazine. If you're using a John Deere tractor, tag John Deere. Maybe you'll get reshared on their account and get more eyeballs on your business and your product. And then the other side of tagging is when your customers are tagging you, it'll show up under this separate little tab that says tagged. And it's similar to if you have a branded hashtag. This is another way where users can show their experience. It's like a curated gallery of all their experiences at your business. And this is another great place to look for posts to repost and get that user-generated content. Location tagging, a little bit different, but similar. So this is very, very important if you have a physical location or if you're visiting a physical location like a farmer's market. You always want to tag the location in your posts, especially Facebook and Instagram make this very easy. If you don't already have your location created in these platforms, all you have to do is create a business Facebook page with your address, and that makes it as an official location in both Facebook and Instagram. Or you can check in on Facebook and claim that address as your own. This really helps increase your reach and helps you reach a local audience based on physical location. And here's an example of what that looks like in real life. So the Franklin County Farmers Market tagged their location. And you can see if you were to click on that little subheading, it opens up this page with a map. And that map actually integrates directly with Google Maps. So someone could click in that and directly navigate to your business without any other clicks, no other barriers to entry. They just click from your post directly to a map and boom, they're there. And also like the tagged posts and the hashtag posts, this is yet another way where customers share their experience. And this is something I check all the time, especially when I'm looking for things to do on the weekend with my husband. I'm curious, like, what are the Instagrammable moments? What is the cool food to eat there? What should I look for? So these are things your customers are going to be looking at too. So they're very important for you to set that up so that it's an easy process for them as well. All right, moving on to generating content. I have a little quote here. Being effective at social media, whether for business or personal use, means capturing people who have short attention spans. They're only a click away from a picture of a funny cat, so you have to make sure your thing is more compelling than that cat. And that can be a very high bar. Trust me, it is a high bar. So where to start? Start by defining your brand and your brand story. Choose 3 to 7 categories of posts. That'll really help guide your content strategy. So for example, the Land Grant program has a tri-part mission, and that's academics, research, and extension. So every single thing I post is gonna fall into one of those 3 buckets. And then you need to define who your ideal customer is, have them in mind as you're creating content, use the kind of language they would use, etc. Another idea is to build a mood board to help you get like the aesthetic and look and feel of your brand. So you can do that either the old-fashioned way, cutting out magazine pictures, building a cork board, or I prefer to use Pinterest, and you can even make that a secret board. You can pin all the images and things that speak to what you want the feel of your brand to be and build that out first, and that'll help guide your content. And of course, stay true to your unique voice. If you're not prim and proper, then don't be prim and proper on social media. If you're one who likes to use fun, cute Southern sayings in everyday conversation, then by all means, do that on social media. People will fall in love with that. Of course, building a content calendar can help you decide where the holes are, where you need to be putting more emphasis. And I'll show you a free tool at the end of this that can help you build out a content calendar. And of course, as you're posting, always make sure to measure your results and then rinse and repeat with what's working. Each platform has its own analytics or insights depending on the platform. And you can tell right away what people are engaging with, look at that engagement rate, and what's doing really well, just keep doing that. So the 80-20 rule, this is not a hard and fast rule, but 80% of your social media posts should inform, educate, or entertain your audience, and only 20% should be directly promoting your business. This is a good rule of thumb. There are, of course, brands that it feels like all they do is 100% selling and you don't really know who they are. But I'd say especially for small business, you want to tell your story because that's what's going to really convert people to your brand. So we can't create good content if we don't know what good content looks like. So let's look at the anatomy of some good posts. So let's start with Facebook. You want to start with that attention-grabbing first sentence. You want something that's going to stop them in their scrolling tracks. You don't want them to scroll right past your post. Then you're going to have a brief explanation of what you want your audience to know. And then you're going to have your call to action or CTA. And those can be things like comment below, click the link, register event, etc. And if you get stuck on what CTAs to use, there are like thousands and thousands of ideas online or on Pinterest. You're going to include a link if that's applicable, and you can use a link shortener for a cleaner look. You can use something like Owly or Bitly or things like that. You want a high quality photo or video to go with your post. And like I said earlier, only 1 to 2 hashtags for Facebook. The anatomy of a good tweet is short and to the point. Again, you only have those 280 characters, so you want to get your message across as quickly as possible, and then get them to that call to action as soon as possible as well. Again, include a link, but note that a link will take 23 characters of your tweet regardless of how long your link is. So be sure to plan that when planning out your 280 characters. Of course, you can attach a high quality photo or video. This will not count against your 280 characters. You can attach up to 4 photos per tweet, and you can attach a video that's under 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. If it's longer than that, I suggest hosting it on YouTube and then posting a link to your video. Again, hashtags. Twitter is known for hashtags. Use all the tags that will fit in that short character count, and use @mentions to tag relevant accounts, and that might help you get more engagement or get retweeted on Twitter. The anatomy of a good Instagram post starts with your quality photo and video. This is a highly, highly visual site. That is what's going to lead first, and then caption comes second. So after that perfect Instagram-worthy picture, then you're going to follow up with an engaging, creative, funny, or informative caption. No pressure. Then again, you can have up to those 30 hashtags. You can @mention people. You can tag your photo. We talked about tagging strategy earlier. Of course, your location tag. And then a note on links. Links within Instagram posts are unfortunately not clickable, which is really annoying sometimes. However, Instagram does give you 1 link in the bio section of your profile. So you can use a tool like Link in Bio or Linktree to really maximize that 1 link you get. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. Instagram stories are the perfect place to tell your story, show behind the scenes content, ask questions, run polls, post event reminders, etc. It seems like they keep coming out with new story features every single day. These have a shelf life of 24 hours unless you add them to your highlights. And in that little example I have, the highlights are those little yellow bubbles, and they're there until I decide to unhighlight them. So a quick example. When I first started working here, I noticed people kept asking me, what is the land grant program? And so I created basically a slideshow of what the land grant program is. So that's something you could take away if you're out at a farmer's market or running your business and you notice you keep getting the same questions over and over. That's just an area where you need to tell your story better. So you could use Instagram stories to accomplish that. And then Instagram TV or IGTV, these are longer form videos. In the feed, you only get 60 seconds for videos, but on Instagram TV, you can have up to 10 minutes. So quite a bit longer, and that's even pretty long for social media to do up to a 10-minute video. You can choose to have these show up in your feed or just on the special IGTV tab. You can upload a quality thumbnail image to go with your picture, and you can actually upload Instagram TV from your desktop, so it makes adding all these things much, much simpler. The text that you see overlaid on the picture happened within Instagram, so that's not something you need to add, like in Photoshop or something when you're building out your graphics and your thumbnails. And then Instagram Reels is kind of a hybrid of Instagram TV and Stories. This was just released in August of this year. And these are short multi-clip videos that you edit on your phone. It's kind of Instagram's clap back to TikTok, if you will. And the cool thing about these is they have much more potential to go viral because Instagram has created a separate space on the Explore tab just for Reels. And where you might get a couple hundred views or something on your Instagram TV, you may get a couple thousand on your Reels. They have way more potential to get way more views, which can help bring more followers and customers. So some ideas to get you started on what to post about behind the scenes, events. There's no reason not to promote your events on social media, and use the Facebook event calendar as much as you can. Post how-to content. You don't have to give away your secret sauce, but if you have some how-tos that show the process and like all the love and care that you put into your products, that's a great thing to highlight on social media. Of course, you can post videos, standalone or a series. Interesting, beautiful photos with captions, or even fun facts if you get stuck. You can poll your audience, and you can do this in many different ways. You can add a poll to Instagram stories, or you can add them right within the home feed on Facebook or Twitter. Holiday posts, there's nationaldaycalendar.com and nationaltoday.com that have all the weird little funky holidays you've never heard of. For example, when I first started working here, I kept hearing about this mythical pawpaw fruit, and I had never had one because I'm from the Western United States. And once I figured out that pawpaws were such a big deal, I thought they had to have their own day. So I actually registered it with nationaldaycalendar.com. And I'm not saying you have to register your own holiday because it's kind of a long shot. They get thousands and thousands of submissions and only accept a few each year. But it's at least a place you could leverage holidays like that to promote your products and your brand. Recipes, especially if you're one that sells like produce or ingredients at a farmer's market, a recipe of how to use those ingredients could go a long way. You can create things like infographics. And if you get really stuck, there are 30-day social media challenges all over the internet, and especially Pinterest is a great place to find those. So tools to make your life easier. If the only tool you have is a hammer, it's hard to eat spaghetti. So you gotta have the right tools. Same goes for social media. So these are things, again, I use every single day. Most of these are free. You can pay for additional features, but at least to get you started, these are all free tools. So Hootsuite and Later are great for scheduling content, previewing content before it goes live. You can schedule it across multiple platforms from one dashboard. It really makes it a lot more manageable. TweetDeck makes Twitter a lot easier to digest because Twitter is one of those that just is moving constantly. There are tweets just like scrolling through all the time, but TweetDeck gives you a simple, easy to use dashboard to help you manage Twitter. And Twitter analytics, I call out, every platform has its own analytics, but Twitter analytics is actually on a separate website. So I just want to make sure you are aware of it and that it exists and that you can use it. Canva makes creating graphics a lot easier. There's also Crello that you can use, and they have a lot of free templates to build Instagram stories and things like that. Eventbrite is, I mean, if you registered for this conference, you've experienced Eventbrite. It integrates directly with Facebook events and makes signing up for your events easier. If your event is free, Eventbrite does not charge you. If your event costs money, they take a small percentage and then they'll send you the rest after your event is over. And then you have Linktree and link in bio, and that's for that one-to-many ratio with that Instagram bio link that you get. And I'll show you screenshots of how all these work. So this is what Hootsuite looks like. It's essentially a calendar, and then you can see how I have different platforms scheduled at the same time. So this is a view back from our virtual state fair because the state fair was all but canceled this year. So we decided to host a whole bunch of virtual activities for our audience. And this is how I planned it all out and mapped it all out. And I knew, where things were happening and where I needed to plug holes with content. And that really helped me plan out my whole calendar for that. And you could do the same. And also Hootsuite has a link shortener. So automatically you can just click a little button that says shorten my link, and that gives you that clean view, and you can do that all from one place. So this is what TweetDeck looks like. You can drag in these different columns. You can schedule your tweets. You can follow certain users. You can have your notifications, see what's trending in Twitter, all in one place. And like I said, it just makes it more digestible and breaks it down for you. And then this is a view of what Twitter analytics looks like. You can filter it by different dates and see how many impressions you're getting, how many retweets, and so on, and see which are your top performing tweets and what kind of content you should repeat. And then this is just a screenshot of the home screen of Canva. Like I said, you can create all kinds of things, Instagram stories, event flyers. I actually made this entire presentation in Canva, so you can do a lot with that. And then this is what Eventbrite looks like. It allows you to customize, date and time details. You can add custom fields for collecting information for people when they're signing up for your event. And then my favorite thing is that it integrates with a lot of sites, and especially Facebook. So this is what Linktree looks like. I have that one little Linktree/KYSUAG link in my bio, but then when you click on it, you'll see this whole menu of things. And I keep this updated really regularly. Anytime I have something new I need to link to, I'll go to Linktree and just add that link, give it a name. And then when I'm posting about it, I'll put in my caption, see link in bio, and then people know to go to the bio, click on it, and then they can get that information. So in addition to free tools, there's some resources I recommend to follow. And some of these are those same free tools, but they will also send you newsletters of ideas. So Hootsuite, they send me ideas all the time, and they have webinars and things like that. Later, same thing, and they're very, very good at sending me updates on new features on social media. So I always know how to use the latest and greatest of everything. There's socialmediaexaminer.com, And then there's sprout.com/insights, and that's the link to their blog. And then, of course, I've mentioned Pinterest many, many times, but Pinterest is a great resource for social media ideas. And then before I close, I'm going to leave you with some final words of wisdom. You can't tiptoe into social media. You have to jump into the pool. People have a natural fear of it, but the scary part is not being there. Your customer is already there. So here we go. Final words of wisdom. Social media is always, always changing. You got to be willing to adapt and roll with the punches. I recommend highly that you follow accounts that you think are doing a good job and try to emulate and learn from them. See if it's a type of content they're using, or if it's a certain time of day, a certain hashtag they're using. Just try to learn from the best, and then you'll get better yourself. And of course, as you come across these ideas, you can bookmark them either using Pinterest, or Instagram actually has a really great built-in bookmark tool that you can use. Pick a schedule that works for you. I know you guys are very, very busy people. So use a tool like Hootsuite and schedule out your posts in bulk when you have the time. Make it work for you. You don't have to be there every day. You just have to stick to somewhat of a consistent cadence so people know when to expect to hear from you. Of course, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, be true to yourself, be authentic, don't be who you're not on social media. And the more you're you, the more people will respond to who you are. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different things. Try posting at different times of day, different days of the week. Use different hashtags. Try putting a little bit of money behind your posts. Like even $10 could get you a couple thousand more impressions on some sites. So just try different things. You're basically a mad scientist now, so have fun with it. And last but not least, I would not be doing my job if I did not tell you to follow us at KYSU Ag. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. And of course, if you have any questions, you can email me at wendy.abbott@kysu.edu.
All right, that was a great video by Wendy. And, you know, understanding social media will help you not only grow your market, but also grow your individual business where you're selling at the farmer's market. So we really hope that that was informative. Everything that she presented on can either go towards your farmer's market that you are in leadership or manager of, and go towards your own individual business. So there's been several people that have joined us since we began. Just really quick, I am Nancy Monroe with the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, and I work with farmers markets in the direct farm marketing division. So we're really happy that everyone is here with us today. Our next presenter is Megan LaFou from the University of Tennessee Center for Profitable Agriculture, and she is going to cover hospitality habits, handling problems effectively. And I know I am very excited to hear this presentation.
Thank you so much for having me. I am really excited to be here. First of all, can you all hear me?
Yes, it sounds great.
Oh, wonderful. I was having a few issues earlier, so that's the big thing. And can you all see my slides? Do you have the correct PowerPoint screen up?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. It's always good when technology works. It's horrible when it doesn't. So we have handled those problems effectively. I imagine if you deal with people at all in your market, which is, of course, every moment of your time at the market, you have dealt with a few problems, and being able to handle those effectively will help to reduce your stress and make your time at the market much more enjoyable. So let's talk about a few things dealing with customer service in general, as well as dive in deeper into some tools to help you manage that stress and handling problems effectively. So first of all, have any of you had any sort of interaction with people at the market that reminded you of these types of emotions or responses that you receive? Anyone have some defiant folks, or people who are cranky or rude or even just downright mean? I think that we have experienced all of this, and although we deal mostly with adults, sometimes people don't always act like the adults that we are, and sometimes maybe even we're guilty of that ourselves. If you had to guess, think about this. If you had to fill in the blank here, almost what percent of customers quit a business do so because of poor service? Kind of bring up a number in your mind. Is it more or less than 25%, more or less than 50%, more or less than 75%? You can kind of check your knowledge or your thought. I was surprised when I first learned that almost 70% of customers that quit a business do so because of poor service. And a lot of times we think that customers quit because of an issue with their product, with your product or somebody else's product, but it really is service that is the number one issue that people quit because of. So that means that we need to pay quite a bit of attention to our service. We also may have more dissatisfied customers than we think, because 96% of unhappy customers are like me and typically won't complain. We don't like the confrontation. We don't like to make a fuss. And so we just don't come back. Or those customers tell other people, 10 to 20 others oftentimes when we have a bad experience. So for every unhappy customer who does complain to us, 24 other people don't. So we really need to pay attention when people really give us a gift and complain and let us know that there is a problem. And we want to deal with that problem effectively so that we're fixing it for that customer, but also those other 24 customers that may have had it in the past, and others that would have kept having it if we had not dealt with it. So let's think broadly about who our customers are at the farmers market. Of course, we think of, if we're a vendor, we think of the customers who are coming to buy our product from us at our booth. But our customers at the market also are farmers market managers and board members. They are other vendors at the market. Our customers include any stakeholders, any city leaders, for example, that might be involved in the market, or others who are vested in the market somehow or allow us to have a market where at a location, as well as backdoor customers who might be service providers that help us at the market location. So we think more broadly about who our customers are than just people who buy from us. 4 myths about customers who may complain or be difficult to handle. Customers try to make things difficult. That's really not the case, even though it may seem like it. Especially sometimes we have high maintenance customers. Do we have any of those? They really don't try to make things difficult. They're just trying to get what they need. Customers like to complain. Most people don't really like to complain. Customers expect the impossible, and customers are never satisfied. We need to get over these kinds of things and get to the root of why we have an issue and how to handle that more effectively. So who is responsible for customer service? Let's think about that for a moment. And then let's look in the mirror, because each of us are responsible for our customer service to all of our customers, from the backdoor customers to other vendors and managers and board members to people buying from us. And oftentimes we may think that we're providing excellent customer service to people, but in this case, it doesn't necessarily matter what we think. It's not our perception of how good the service is that counts. It's our customers' perception of how good our service is that really counts. So we need to understand what our customers think about our service and what they're needing from us and how we provide that. We've done some teaching in the past, a program called Southern Style Hospitality, and it's a day-long workshop where we discuss 6 hospitality habits, including how to make a good first impression, how to communicate clearly, how to be a professional and be informed about your community and share information with folks, how to handle problems effectively, and to make a good last impression. So today we are going to focus mostly on the hospitality habit to handle problems effectively, more in depth here. Well, what's in it for you for providing excellent customer service, including handling problems effectively? First of all, it gives you credibility and added professionalism. When you care about your customers, it shows, and people really respect that, and it helps them to build loyalty for you and your products. Excellent customer service increases your value as an employee or owner of a business or a manager or a team member. It helps you to enhance your skills so that you can set your business apart from the competition. I think everybody knows when you say thank you at Chick-fil-A, how they respond in my pleasure rather than no problem. Different things just set your business apart. And even really small customer service skills, ways that you handle problems, especially, can help set your business apart. Ultimately, excellent customer service increases your sales and develops stronger brand equity, stronger loyalty, so that you're building lifelong customers for your farm and your business. If we aren't making those sales, then we don't have a reason to be at the market. So ultimately, the customer service does lead to our bottom line. So let's dig in now to some more details about handling problems effectively. One way that we can handle problems effectively is to be proactive and try to prevent any issues from occurring or limiting the number of issues that occur. We found from studies of farmers markets and working with farmers markets that it's really helpful to have written market rules and regulations. That way everybody's on the same page as far as vendors and the board about what the rules are, what we're supposed to be doing, and what happens if we don't follow those rules. Those rules need to be clearly communicated among vendors and the board members. And if there's rules of market for the customers, those need to be clearly communicated as well. It's very helpful to foster a sense of community and be a great team player. The rising tide raises all boats kind of thing, where if we can help support other vendors, then there's a happier environment. It's easier to work out problems if anything happens to arise, and oftentimes things don't then. It's also helpful to develop a method to invite feedback, whether that's from customers who are shopping at the market to vendors and board members and stakeholders. If there's a way that you invite people to provide you feedback, then it's easier for people to provide information and that they feel valued in doing that. And you're able to try to fix those things before something explodes. Also, if we can work to fix a problem for an unhappy customer, handle a problem effectively, 9 out of 10 will remain our customers and oftentimes become even more valued customers for us. So figuring out a method to handle those problems is effective. One thing I don't have on this list, but I have found to be very important in my life, especially recently. I am a working mom with 2 small children, and there are times when I don't get much sleep. And when I don't get much sleep, or I don't have any time to myself, or I don't get outside enough, I tend to get a little bit cranky, and it's very difficult for me to handle problems effectively. So another way to be proactive is to take good care of yourself so that you feel good physically and mentally and have the energy and wherewithal to be patient and work through issues with customers, whoever those may be. Oftentimes when our customers have a problem with us, they may come to us in not so great a way, right? They might be rude, they might be a little bit obnoxious or sarcastic, they might be loud or arrogant, they might be demanding, they might be defensive because they did everything right and you did everything wrong. They might even seem a little crazy, over the top, right? And sometimes that can surprise us, or if we're not paired with some tools in knowing how to deal with this, we might come back to them with being defensive. Well, it's not my fault. You left those strawberries in the hot car and they're going to cook there. We might get frustrated. We might get louder, or might withdraw. We might act superior because we know what's best. We might be confused because we don't understand what the issue is. And we might get a little bit crazy. And then this cycle continues. They get louder and more defensive, and then we're just in a big mess. So we really need to work to be able to calmly approach a conflict when it arises. So it's really helpful if we can bring a really positive attitude to the market and a positive light on trying to handle and deal with issues. So attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference every day at the market, but particularly if there is an issue that arises. Remember, a complaint is an opportunity to fix a problem for not just that customer, but all the other customers that may have had that issue and didn't let you know. Another thing that can be helpful to us is to try to look through that customer's eyes or walk in their shoes. You know, what are their needs? What are they thinking or feeling? Is this a reasonable issue? Are they extra stressed? So they might be coming off a little harsher than maybe they might be have otherwise. So Chick-fil-A has a training video that they use called Every Life Has a Story. And we don't have time to watch it today, but I encourage you to watch it because it reminds their employees that every person that comes through the store, whether it's a coworker or a customer, has a story to their life. And that story help impacts how they deal with people. And it reminds us that we are dealing with people who may be hurting, who may be rejoicing, who may be grieving something in their lives. And I think particularly this last year, we've had a lot of extra stress that we don't necessarily know what to do with. And you may have, I certainly have customers that our farmers market have. So, you know, people coming to the market during last season, and, you know, we have had a little bit of time to adjust, but I'm already getting questions about what do we need to do for the market this year. Those things are going to continue into this year. So we have a global pandemic. I've never been through a global pandemic before. I'm not sure if any of you have, but there was a lot of unknowns there, a lot of stress going on. Do we go to the store? Do we not go to the store? Do we go to the farmer's market? Do we not go to the farmer's market? So we're worried about getting sick, or maybe not us getting sick, but taking the virus to somebody who is more at risk, a grandparent or somebody with a health condition. We've had stresses from going to the grocery store and trying to find groceries, or even to the market and trying to find products that we need or would like for our family and not being able to find what we need. And that's stressful. We don't necessarily have the what we need, and that causes some anxiousness. We have people working in the medical field that are working hours on end with critically ill patients, and some of those folks aren't making it, and they are using FaceTime and Zoom to share the last moments of people's lives with their family members, because they aren't allowed to go in many cases, or are allowed to go in, but at the very last. We've had people with financial difficulties who have lost their jobs. We have people who are working from home and trying to do remote school or homeschool, or pull their children out of daycare to help reduce their risk, or because of the financial issues. And we've had people, like always, but perhaps even more, we've lost people. People have died, and so they are lots of different ways that we are stressed out that causes extra stresses that we don't necessarily know how to deal with. So it's helpful to remember that people have different struggles and perhaps in times when there's more stress, that it's just a little bit overwhelming. People may be a little more sensitive to things than they would have in the past. So we need to learn how to break the cycle of conflict. So if somebody comes to us rude, obnoxious, loud, arrogant, demanding, defensive, or crazy, we can take a breath and take that in and not give that back, but break that cycle into making it something positive. So we have some steps to do that, and then some examples of an example or two of how we might do that. So it is helpful to pause before we respond and try to look beyond the words or the tone of voice or the body language that we're receiving, and trying to listen and observe carefully to identify the problem. Is it more than what they're saying or something different than what they're saying? Help to repeat the complaint or describe the problem in your own words to let them know that you're listening and that you're understanding that problem accurately. We can apologize if the customer is upset and acknowledge the customer's feeling. If you could tell they're angry or frustrated or disappointed, let them know that you're seeing that and you are understanding that. Assuming that there's something that you can do to fix that problem or to help with the issue, explain what action you will take to correct that problem, and thank that customer for bringing the problem to your attention so that you have the opportunity to try to fix it for them. Then it's vitally important that you deliver on that and take the action that you promised that you would take. And then follow up with that customer to let them know that you took that action and what the result will be. So there's a wide variety of problems that you can have at the market, but let's just look at perhaps one that we may see at a market, but you can certainly apply this to any problem the best that you can. So a vendor might come to a farmer market manager or board member and say, this other farmer is buying product from another state and reselling it here. What are you going to do about it? And in this case, we're assuming that's against the market rules. That's not against all market rules, but in some cases it is. So the manager and board member would try to break this cycle of conflict and say, I understand that you believe Mr. Smith is selling the product he hasn't raised, which is against our market rules. Is that correct? Once they respond, you say it can certainly be frustrating when somebody is not following the rules. I really appreciate you letting me know so we can address this. I will visit with Mr. Smith and then determine if any additional steps are needed, and we'll follow the protocol and our market rules. Again, helpful to have written market rules. It's against the rules or not, and hopefully there's some protocol in the rules about what happens if somebody is breaking the rules. And then we would get back with this vendor and say, I visited with Mr. Smith and, we've determined there's a misunderstanding. He's using boxes that he, he purchased somewhere else, or, oh, he did get this product from somewhere else. And we reminded him about the rules and he's not going to sell that product here anymore, or whatever the course of action is. So we want to be very calm, let people know that we care, that we're understanding them, we're listening to them as a person and understanding their how they're feeling, and then we take action and follow up. Now, sometimes we have to say no, right? That if somebody asks for something and we can't allow that, or we can't fix the problem. So we need to, in those cases, explain why the answer is no. If an error occurred, then tell how that happened, and certainly apologize. If there's a policy that you're referencing, show how that policy is fair, and always be respectful in saying no, and apologize for not being able to do what the customer wants. So we may have had some. I was in a store recently, and overheard some issues with there's masks required to come in the store and this person didn't want to wear a mask. You may have experienced that at the market. So the customer says, I am not going to wear a mask. The market is outside and they don't even work. Okay. We're not going to debate whether they work or not, or whether we should or not, but we may have had an issue like this. So a manager or vendor could say, I understand your frustration with rules for mask wearing. I feel like I'm living in the twilight zone. Things are so crazy. But that's the current policy of the market based on what the health department is asking us to do and CDC recommendations. So we're referencing the policy there. We are all trying our best to keep our vendors and customers safe and make them feel safe at the market. You know, I'm so sorry I can't let you in the market without a mask, but I'm happy to tell you about our pre-order or curbside pickup option, or to provide you with a disposable mask so you can shop if you do want to come in. So we've given them a couple of options, but we're not letting them in the market without the mask if that is our policy. So that was just an example of if you need to say no about something, how you apply and work with those folks to hopefully handle the issue and not escalate the situation. The session before on social media was excellent, I felt like, and I need to learn how she did that in Canva on her presentation. That was really slick. But sometimes we have issues on social media as well with complaints and having problems there. So let's go through just a few things here to see if we can help with that. First of all, we need to know when an issue has been raised or somebody has a problem. So it's important for us to monitor those sites for feedback. So be sure you're watching your social media sites, and you can register to receive email notifications of things that are going online, related to your market name or your farm names or whatever you like by registering with Google and some other places. When there is an issue, we want to respond quickly and professionally. In fact, one study said that 40% of their respondents expect a response within hours of leaving a complaint. So we really need to watch carefully and often and get back with folks. At least acknowledge the complaint and then let them know, I see you have an issue. I'm at the market today. I'll get back with you this evening when I get home. Respond quickly and professionally. Again, stay calm and try to break that cycle of conflict. Try to see the issue through the customer's eyes or walk in their shoes. And when we're writing, we want to try to use a natural tone or style and not be overly overly formal. Show that we're listening and care for the customers. Thank them for the feedback, acknowledge their feelings again, and indicate a desire to solve that issue. Apologize for mistakes, but only if you actually made a mistake. You can certainly apologize that somebody is upset or disappointed, but you don't have to apologize for making a mistake if you didn't make one. Post a genuine apology. No cut and paste responses we sometimes see from large corporations, and turn your focus to solving the customer's problem. Then invite them to take the conversation offline. So I'd love to email you and talk more. I'd love to call and visit with you more about this so that we can solve this issue for you and make sure that I'm understanding what the problem is. And then handle the problem offline. Connect with that person with who can help solve the problem. Use the strategy for how to say no if you can't give what they want. And then once the problem is solved and you followed up with that customer, you might go back to the original social media post, for example, and post a reply or a follow-up message. Thank them again for informing you that there was an issue and working with them to fix it. So that you're fixing that issue for them, but also everybody else who watched the issue evolve on social media will see that you cared enough to fix the problem and to come back and follow up. Finally, in some cases, you have to know when to stop, because some people will refuse to take it offline and they will just continue to hammer on social media. So the best you can do here is to make a sincere effort to resolve the issue and take it offline, and then just stop. Don't debate the issue on social media. Just stop commenting. Oftentimes, other customers or others will come on in your defense and help with the issue. Don't delete the post unless there's something, language issues or some sort of threat or something there. And finally, encourage positive reviews and posts as much as you can of your customers and social media followers to help with any, to overshadow any negative things that are on there. So here's an example that I've actually seen, kind of an example I've stole from one of our agritourism enterprises. Somebody gave a 2-star review and said all was okay, but the staff was horrible, very rude. So we might post a response to this, and maybe you had, this was, could be about a farmer's market as well, but you could respond, "Thank you for your feedback. We are so sorry you experienced rude behavior from anyone on our staff. I will be sure to speak with our team immediately so we are able to improve service for all our guests. If you would like to discuss your experience further, please contact me directly at," and give some ways to contact you. Finally, I hope that you will take time today through all these sessions to set some goals for yourselves. And I hope you think about at least one goal for how that you can handle problems effectively that you might experience at the market. And one way might be to think about a problem or issue that you had during the market season and work through the steps that we discussed here about how to respond and break that cycle of conflict, and pick another one that where you had to say no and kind of think through what your response would have been following the strategies to provide a response to somebody saying no. And that will help prepare you for the next time that happens, and allow you to be a little less stressed and stay a little bit more calm in your response. I hope that's helpful, and feel free to reach out via email if you have any follow-up questions that we can't deal with today.
Awesome. We got just a minute here before we move on. If anybody has a question that they would like to type in to the chat.
Thank you for sharing the link to that video. That's great. It is and they do a great job with their videos, and of course have music behind it. Normally I end up in tears before it's over. So thank you all for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, Megan, for joining us. Greatly appreciate it. In the chat, we also put in a link to some files that Megan had sent over to us. And those will also be on, when we send out the recording, there'll be a link on there for that too. So moving on, we all like hearing from those who are in the trenches, so to speak. And we want to have a panel on this conference, this short course. So we have Breathitt County Farmers Market and Fort Thomas Farmers Market who are going to join us. And these are two markets, one from a rural county and one from more urban county, who have been growing quite a bit over the past few years and have even continued to grow during this past year, where we all experienced various challenges due to COVID. So what we're going to do is we're going to have both farmers markets present for a little bit, and then we will open it up for any Q&A if anybody has any questions for them. So first off, we have Breathitt County Farmers Market and Mr. Reed Graham, who is the Breathitt County Ag and Natural Resources Agent, and then Harold Holbrook, who is the market manager.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. Can you see our screen okay? See me okay? Hear me okay?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Great. Well, first off, thank you to the Kentucky Horticulture Council for putting this on. Thanks to Nancy Monroe for inviting us to speak. I hope everybody on here today can learn a few things from Harold and I. Of course, I'm Reed Graham. I'm the Breathitt County Extension Agent for Agriculture and Natural Resources. Harold Holbrook's here with me. I'll slide the computer over to him here in a few minutes, but he is our Breathitt County Farmers Market Manager. So just to give you a history of the market, then I'll be talking a little bit about challenges, triumphs, and keys to growing your market. But if you're not familiar with Breathitt County, we're about 70 miles southeast of Lexington, so it's fairly rural here. Starting to get into the mountains, some smaller fields, but not big time agriculture area. Our market was established though in 2012. We had a great partnership. We had, Breathitt County Extension Office, Breathitt County Farm Bureau. We're blessed to be right next to the Robinson Center for Appalachian Resources and Sustainability. And actually our market pavilion that you can see in the upper right picture is on our cars Robinson Center property, which has been great to us. They maintain the grounds, they maintain the building. They come to our stuff. They stop in all the time out there. So it's been really good to us. I just want to point out in the upper photo, if you can see it though, we're right on Highway 15 South between Jackson and Hazard. Highway 15 South is the main artery from, anywhere in Eastern Kentucky in this part of the country. So we're right next to the main road. And I think that's really helped us. We'll talk more about that a little bit. We've got a board of directors. My predecessor here at the Extension Office, he helped form the board of directors. And I think that's been very helpful for our market and for our market to be able to grow the way it has. But we've got 2 members from Extension, 2 members from Farm Bureau, and a member of the board from the Robinson Center. So the board really, they establish rules. They set any education for the farmers out there at the market, like produce best practice training that's required, and they set the fee for the market. So it takes a lot of the pressure off of, Harold and I, who want to be involved with the market and want to help the farmers, but we don't really set the rules. I'm an advisor, Harold's the manager. We've got a great board of directors, and it's also 5 people in our community that is involved with our market. And I definitely think that's been very helpful. The board of directors has bylaws, like I would recommend to anybody. If you've not got a board of directors, get one maybe. Works for you. It worked great for us, and make sure they have bylaws. But leading up to 2018, we had a volunteer market manager, which was great. The man we had did a great job, but it was hard to expect someone to go out there. We were open for 12 to 15 hours a week. That's a lot to ask somebody to do for nothing. And he wasn't able to. He had a full-time job, so he wasn't able to do that. But just to kind of tell you how we've grown, we started out the first year, we had about 8 vendors sign up, but we only had maybe 4 at the most come. This year we've got 13 vendors signed up. I think 2021 we'll have probably 15. But we had 8 regular vendors out there in 2020. So we couldn't have done any of this though without the help of the Community Farm Alliance. We got the Market Manager Grant, and we got the Kentucky Double Dollars Grant. So the Market Manager Grant, it's been great. It's been very helpful. And the Kentucky Double Dollars has been great for our community. So it's really been a no-brainer for us. Next, I'm going to turn the computer over to Harold. And of course, it's Harold Holbrook. He is our market manager. So. There you go, Harold.
Good afternoon. My name is, Reed said, is Harold Holbrook, and I've had the pleasure of being the market manager at the Breathitt Market for the last 2 years. The only experience I've had with the market before has been as a customer, and this has given me a great deal of insight on what it takes to be a vendor at a farmer's market. Needless to say, these folks work hard and they earn what they have. We've been lucky. Reed said we had 5 or 6 or 7 that come out on a regular basis, and they've been bringing a good variety of things and good products. My basic things, I believe, is just they gave me a list of things from our farmer market manager expectations, and we try to manage those. But basically, we just kind of, as the slide said, just keep things running smoothly. We try to assist the farmers or the vendors any way we can, assist the customers. I have early in the morning, I'll come up and put out our American flag. Then I put out the signage as you saw in there about the farmer's market. There's another one that says open. And it's right beside the road and gets everybody's attention. When they get their table set up in the morning, I'll take pictures of those, 2 or 3 pictures of each vendor's table and post those on the Facebook page along with a message of inviting customers to stop by and tell them, run through a list of what they have available and then mention any other events that are happening there. I have a desk or table sitting right at the front as people come in with a couple of chairs, and that gives me an opportunity to greet each one of them as they come in, and I do that. We also have some signage on there that tells people about wearing masks and social distancing and those things. And we have a hand sanitizer just as you walk in. You almost have to run into it to get around it. But the vendors are set up on the exterior of the building itself is about a 40 to 80, and the vendors are set up on the outsides. We keep a good wide avenue down the middle of it for people to walk and shop, so we don't have this bunching up together. And people are observing that. They're accepting this mask and things and all. It's pretty much a way of life. So everybody's trying to help everybody else out. And then, of course, at the end of the day, when the customers leave, I try to thank them. And if I need to, maybe help them carry their items out to the store or out to their cars. The customer count this past year, 2020, was probably, like I said, reached as the best year we've had in a while. We had a total of 6,500 customers come through on the 48 days we were open. It averaged out about 140 people per day. And reported receipts to me were a little over $92,000 for all the vendors. So it's about 3 times what it was previous year. We faced a bunch of challenges, to say the least. One of which is a small county, a rural county. Population's around 14,000. We're about 2 miles south of Jackson, and the population, like any other small town, has gone down to maybe 1,500. There's just a limited amount of good level ground for farmers to operate on, but they make the most out of what they have. And that's about all they can do. And initially, it was an issue of maybe the vendors might not want to participate so much, but I think what we're doing now and what the vendors are seeing is that they're having this vendor buy-in, and they are buying into it. Most of them will, the ones that have Facebook presence will post something the day before the market saying, here's what I'm going to bring, meet me at the market tomorrow, and that sort of thing. People can call them ahead of time and say, bring me this, and they can bring it, meet them at the market, and everybody's happy with that. I've asked them regularly, how can we grow the market? What can we do to make this better for you, the vendors? What can we do to make it better for the customers? And they all have an input in it, and they're not afraid to promote it. As those challenges show, there's one of the lower picture there is a fellow at the radio station interviewing a lady that's been coming to the market. She sells goat's milk products and baled hay. The other picture on the right there shows a lady that TV. She's from the Hazard TV station, and she put together a really nice spot to advertise and promote the market. And the vendors just jumped right in on that, and they were glad to do that too. As far as Trumps, as Reed had mentioned, that vendors were dissatisfied with some people bringing in resale items, and that it wasn't fair to them. They worked hard on their place, and everything they brought was grown here in the county. And the board addressed that, so that yes, it was a very real issue. And it decided to those people that if they're going to buy things out there and resell them, they have to get a resale permit, which is issued by the board. It's an extra $100 fee. They get a permit that they have to display it on their table like they do the Kentucky Proud signage. They have to identify those items that are resale items when they put their prices out on the table. In conjunction with that, Extension Office and the board and all developed it's Breathitt County Proud. And they have made signage up and it just says that, just Breathitt County Proud. They've made some stickers that the vendors can put on their packages, the boxes that they sell, different items that they sell, and let people know that those items were, yes, they were grown here in Breathitt County. And most of them say they were grown here in Breathitt County, grown on my farm, and everybody appreciates that. We've also had, we didn't mention it before, but they've also have a billboard right on the highway, a mile or so from where the market is. And we leave that up for about 6 months. We've got some different donations through the wanting to be involved in the market. This Hazard Community College had a program called an Eat Fresh program, which gave each student $15 per market day to go shop for fresh produce. That's $30 a week. And no strength, just come in, buy what you want. Tell me, tell the vendor who you bought it from. At the end of the month, we total those things up, send them to the extension office. They write the checks, and HCTC reimburses them. So it all worked really well. We hope that they continue that again next year. The Soil Conservation District came up to bat this year, and they, as well as years past, and they gave us increased their gift up to $3,000 this year, which those were just tokens redeemed only at the Breathitt County Market. So that money came just directly into the vendors we have here. We had last couple of years, we've had an no-fee day in 19. We had 3 vendors, and one of them that came on a no-fee day joined us this year as a regular vendor. I made a mistake and didn't think of this no-fee day early enough this year. And we wound up having it in October, and it was cold as the dickens that day, but we still had 3 vendors, new vendors come by. They all had decent days, and one of them is a young couple. She's a student at HCTC, and she said, I'll be in school on Wednesdays, but we're going to join up. We're going to come as soon as we can and become vendors, and I'll be up here working every Saturday. So that helped out a little bit. We're still looking for ways to attract new vendors, both farmers and crafters. We're thinking that with all these festivals being postponed or canceled, that some of these crafters may be able to use the market as a good avenue to put their products out there for people. And if they do have people coming in, that's going to help the farmers. So hopefully it's a twofold benefit. All in all, the thing about that makes it work and work better, I think, is that it's a sense of community between the vendors, the customers, and all people involved in it. And I think ours is not necessarily because of me, but just because the people all involved in it, and the extension office and the board. It's coming together, and this sense of community is growing each year. Thank you.
I'll go over the last slide here for you all before we turn it over. We know we've got another farmers market to speak, but in our opinion, Harold and I talked about this, but the keys to growing your market. First one, and I've heard Harold say it 100 times. We talk about it on the radio, we talked about it on the news, but the first key, in my opinion, is farmers bringing a good selection of fresh produce. That is the first key, and I think that's the biggest thing. If your farmers aren't bringing good stuff and it's not fresh, I think that would really hurt your market. So make sure you talk to your farmers and let them know that's what people want. That's why people come to the farmers market in the first place, in my opinion. Another thing is diversification of products. I hope your all's counties are seeing it, but our county's seen some high tunnels. Getting out there, people are getting out there early, getting in there late. Bringing stuff that's kind of out of season, but it's not resale, and that's really helped our market. And people are bringing hay to our market. Hopefully they'll be bringing meat this year, but they're bringing other products other than just sweet corn and green beans, and I think that's really helped. This is another thing. The next thing is the set day and hours. I know that's really helped us through the years because we've kept our days and we've kept our hours fairly similar. but people can know they can go there after work and or before work, during work, or whatever your all's hours are. But they know that we will have farmers there and we will be there on those days. And I think that's really helped us. And I would say that's a key to growing your market. Location, if your farmers have to pack their stuff a long ways to set up, or if the customers have to pack things a long way to set up, that's not ideal. And then being on it, being on a good busy road or being downtown somewhere, that could be good too for you. It's all different in relative to your location, but our location seems to really help us. Don't be afraid to try new ideas. That's always a plus. That's how we have probably been as successful as we have, and don't be afraid to ask others for help. The bottom picture, both those pictures are, extension office functions. We've done a lunch at the farmers market in the past. We didn't get to do one this year, but your local extension office could be a really good resource to your farmers market. I mean, we've not only got agriculture, but we've got 4-H, family consumer science, SNAP Ed. All those really, really help. And don't be afraid to ask for donations. I think that's helped us too with the where we need, you have to meet some of these grants. You have to put out some money to be able to get the funds. Don't be afraid to ask for donations. And if you can tell people what your customer counts are, what your vendor sales are, that will really help you with donations, in my opinion. So here is mine and Harold's contact information. I told Nancy when we started this that we could probably go on for hours, but we won't. We'll be very respectful of everybody's time, and we'll stick around to the end if anybody has any questions.
Thanks, Reed and Harold. Greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to share with us today. So we're going to go ahead and we'll move into the Fort Thomas Farmers Market. Miss Debbie Buckley is with the City of Fort Thomas, and we are hoping that Miss Lee Gorman will also be able to join us, but I'm not for sure she'll make it on or not. But here is Debbie, and we'll let you go ahead and kick it off, Debbie. And we'll take some questions after this. So.
Thank you all. Nancy and Sharon, I really want to thank you for all your support all these years. I've already told you that next week I retire after 15 years. And I really appreciate everything you've done all these years. The Fort Thomas Farmers Market started back in 2009. And boy, did we start something. I had no idea that we were starting kind of against the wishes of some people. I had been a volunteer out in the county promoting agricultural businesses for the village of Camp Springs. It's an agricultural community with 28 stone farmhouses and lots of agricultural tourism. And when I got the job in Fort Thomas, it just seemed very natural to me to bring the farmers there so that we could promote them. So this year, we've been doing this a lot of years now, but I had no idea when we started that it was going to be controversial. 2009, we started with 12 vendors and a group of ladies called Earth Mother's Market. It was we started it in front of the historic stables building that was built back in the Spanish-American War in our historic Midway district. Fort Thomas really is an old fort, and the buildings, many of them are still standing. And that building seemed like a great idea, except that the entire parking lot is used by the VA. And so we could use the parking lot right up against the building, but we didn't have any parking. But people came, just not a lot of them. So 2009, 2010, we had a dozen vendors, all women, and it was really pretty good. But 2011, they saw greener pastures and decided to move to a neighboring community on a very busy thoroughfare, and broke my heart. So They lasted there about 2 years before they decided that didn't work either. But in 2011, I invited a whole lot of regular farmers to come to Fort Thomas, and we started just a regular farmers market. And this time we moved it toward the South Fort Thomas Avenue, where people could see it more easily. And we still had 12 vendors. And that was the beginning of a lot of moves. 2012 and 13, 14, we kept it in the historic Midway, and we started growing vendors, and we actually moved it into the center of town as well. So we had two markets. So, you know, I was trying to do it by myself. I can't tell you that I did a really good job. We didn't have too much extra, but we had great vendors. And those vendors, many of them are still with us today. You can see our little music group that we had. 2015, we added food trucks. By 2016, we had moved to the Fort Thomas Plaza, which was about a mile away. And that was a great idea because Deb's alcohol, they sold alcohol. They had a lot of customers, and we had 20 vendors. That went great, but by the next year they had moved out of the plaza and it was dead. So you know, it was one of those things that the market had to keep moving to follow customers. By 2017, we hired Lee Gorman. Well, we didn't hire her. She became our market manager. Probably she wouldn't tell you that it was at her own desire. I accidentally, on purpose, I had been begging her to do it. She is fantastic. She is one of the most qualified, talented people you'll ever meet to become a market manager. She's got more passion than anyone for the job. And I was thrilled to have her come on board. And at that time, we had 15 farmers, 17 vendors, and she just did an amazing job of adding music every week and added a volunteer board. Cindy, can you tell me, has Lee joined us yet?
I do not see her in the attendees.
Okay. Well, I know that she sent me a message that she had just landed in Salt Lake City. So if you see her, I'd love for her to tell you more about this. She put together a board at that time of 5 gals who, oh, she's on. She tells me she's on now.
I just added her to the panel, so she should be able to speak as well.
All right, Lee, I just announced that you took over in 2017, so you can take over from here.
Mute. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've been following along, Debbie, so I'm kind of brought up to speed, but I would just say, to add to what Debbie's already added, we've created a volunteer board. And in all truthfulness, Debbie really knew people in the community that had expressed interest in the market. And what I think is really important here is that I was not friends with one of them. So it wasn't about me rallying the people that I liked to be with to do this. It was about working with people who equally were passionate. And so that was really a big learning for me, and absolutely vital to the success of the market is working with people that were passionate. And then the other thing was, like those people, again, I didn't know them initially. They all became friends. Don't be silly. Of course, we shared a passion, but I would be like, okay, so what do you like to do? What are you good at? And so just kind of slating people into positions like that were their natural gifting. Like you have people who want to be in the public eye. You have people very easily recognizable that want to be behind the scenes, and you need both to be effective. So that was just something that I learned at a new level through this position. But we became a family. I can tell you, there were times there was a woman who kind of, maybe I better not say that, stepped into a certain role, and I didn't really love her style in this role. And I just realized, this isn't about me controlling every aspect of it. Like I can't do everything. No, Debbie couldn't do everything. And empowering and working with and sharing your ideas, and mainly empowering people in the positions that they were volunteering for, because you'll never keep volunteers if you try to control them. You have to, you have to empower them and thank them and like brag on them publicly a little bit, and so on and so forth. So it was kind of beautiful that we created this team of volunteers that all had different gifts, and we all needed one another, and we all, like I said, really grew to be a little community, a little family. So that's probably something that's sticks out to me, that I would add. And that was also a year. Can you all still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That was just also a year, I like to say, we threw a bunch of stuff against the wall and we decided what stuck. And, we realized we had food trucks, but more was not better. We did kids activities, and that we decided was going to be our niche, was to be a family friendly farmers market where we were going to establish the love of farmers markets in children. And then the kids would be asking their parents to bring them back to the farmers markets. And with that, we did there's so many things that are available, either free or reasonable enough that you can find someone to sponsor. And probably the most interesting thing we ever did is we hired this like private couple that raised birds of prey, and they brought their birds of prey to our market and did education with birds of prey with children. And it was just one of the neatest things I think we've ever done. So there's so many things like that are available. You just have to research them and find them. One of the places I found that was at Earth Day, which was in the city of Cincinnati. And so that's an amazing contact, especially in communities. I know Extension is so strong in Kentucky, but in other states it's not. So there's different organizations like that, where you can find leads for education purposes at your market. So anyway, that's kind of a long story there, but that's what I would add to that slide.
Can you see 2018, Lee, where we made the big move?
Yes, Debbie, I can. Debbie, can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. Do you want me to carry on?
Sure.
Okay, so basically, we were, once again, if the Fort Thomas Farmers Market is anything, we are resilient. And so once again, we were in a position where there was going to be construction, so we had to move. So we got everything set up to work with a local church. And there was just an angry citizen that did her research and found out that church was not zoned to be able to host a market. So I don't know if it was 3 weeks, it was probably 2 weeks before the market opened. We literally had to revamp everything and move again. So in one of the seminars I've attended, like a farmer's market workshop, the number one thing they said that kills a market is moving. So that we had no choice. I did not really accept that well, but we had no choice. But we have since moved where we have been for the last 2 years, and it's really become probably our best location in the fact that it's a parking lot of in the middle of a park, and there's just green everywhere. It allows for shade. It allows for activities in the grass. We have the YMCA come and do tumbling for kids. Prior to COVID, we were, like I said, every single week we focused on things for children, and they were either the arts or physical activity or nutrition. Those were sort of our 3 focuses for children and families. And what I also realized is this location, more wasn't better for our size of our community. Having a bigger market, like in a bigger city, wasn't what we needed. We just needed to have like a one-stop shop variety. We need to have a little competition, but not, too many people selling the exact same thing. And I think we had kind of figured it out. And that particular location in Tower Park was that we weren't going to grow too much from that spot, but we didn't need to. So I think I would be happy if that was the permanent home of the Fort Thomas Farmers Market. So we just got creative in the midst of COVID. We had to. One of the things that I think is important to mention here is that we did not reinvent the wheel. We were not a year-round market, so literally I just copied the local Covington Farmers Market in our community. I talked to Alexa, their manager. I went there, I observed, and rather than trying to figure out all these new policies, I sort of just saw what worked well and tried to adapt those to our market. So I used I just tried to use my resources towards things that were more pertinent to our market and adopt some of the COVID policies that the state had mandated, just by observing others. And this was one of them. We came up with a market bag where people who were not comfortable coming in person could drive by and they could order a small bag or a large bag. And the vendor that was willing to take this on decided, and she was very fair and shopped, the different vendors. But in the end, our market, for whatever reason, this people felt comfortable coming inside our market. They even in the midst of COVID, we socially distanced as much as we could. We created the environment, so then it was up to people to socially distance. But one of the other things we did to sort of help people feel safe is we instilled senior shopping time. And so, that's a good picture, Debbie. So that gives you an idea. We had, this was like spray painted our tomatoes from our logo to distance people out prior to entering the market. But our senior shopping time, I thought, was one of our biggest successful additions. And we allowed 65 and older to shop 15 minutes early, starting at 2:45. So not only did they get the best and freshest pick, and they felt, I think, cared for by that, but they also were given their own. And we had as many as 90 people, probably on the average was 80, but we would have, they took it seriously and they would show up and wait even in line to be able to shop early. So these are some of the things we came up with our own. Like I said, we build upon what we observed from other markets in our community. Right, changing habits of our customers. That's never easy, but with some caution tape, you can do amazing things. And we created and spray paint. We created a traffic flow, just one-way shopping. It worked pretty well, and our vendors actually were extremely appreciative because it made every customer walk by every booth, and it boosted everybody's sales, where previously people might come just to one of their or two of their favorite vendors. So that ended up being something our vendors and farmers asked if we could continue. Oh, and we had a lot of fun with this. We entered a contest by American Farmland Trust, and um, we were working so hard, and ended up at second place in the state of Kentucky, but ninth in the nation, being recognized as the top farmers market. And it was just really fun we got the local newspaper to ask people to vote. We handed up slips when people were leaving our market and asked them to vote. And it just created some fun, healthy competition in the midst of our season. So we're pretty proud of that, right, Debbie?
We are.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that. Oops. Okay, do you want to, yes, go ahead.
That's the end of our presentation. If you have any questions.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies. I know, Lee, I appreciate you trying to join us from the airport and stuff like that. I know it makes it more challenging having to do that. But what, let's see here. I haven't seen, there was one question about what market managers paid, and we will find that out and we'll answer that privately there. Can we get a copy of the COVID? Okay, so that's been taken care of. Does anybody else have any other questions? You know, both of these markets, they have just come so far, like a lot of the markets across the state, and I can't really bring on everybody to talk. So that's why we picked these two markets. But like I say, so many of the markets across the state, you all have done just such a great job of growing and growing your market and changing. There was one question about crafters at a market, and that's something, you know, that's up to each individual market. Some markets maybe have not changed their bylaws to allow that. For markets that do allow it, most of the time they say that the craft items have to be made by the individual who is applying to sell them. And there's a lot of markets that also kind of have a 70-30, 80-20 rule or something. So the majority of your vendors are agriculture focused vendors. And then they will allow a few other craft vendors in, so that way you don't feel like you're at just a craft market. You still feel like you're at the farmer's market. So if anybody has any questions about ways to maybe incorporate that, feel free to reach out to me. Does Reed or Debbie or Leah or Lee, do you all have anything to add with that?
I would love to, because we typically early on realized we're not a market where crafters do well. I mentioned that we don't have an extra space really to grow in our outdoor market either, and don't really think we need to. But what I permitted was our farmers to do some crafts as value added. And so that has been huge success. And I'm picturing some of the things in my mind, you know, soaps, or one farmer's wife does some like really neat blocks that have different sayings on them. So that sort of thing. So they could do some value added things. The other thing I will tell you that we did, and I do think this year was an exception, and we added for the first time an indoor market. So our outdoor market ended in September, and we moved inside. Nancy, you came there, so you saw that. And we were inside all of October, all of November, and then it was supposed to be the first 2 weeks of December, but it was so successful. Both our customers and our vendors asked us if we would extend it a third week in December, which we did. And what we decided to do was make those first 3 weeks that ended up being in December for some artisans as well. So I think we had space for 10 artisans, And they were, again, they had to make everything. The people that came had to be the producers of those things. But several of the artisans were food artisans. And then several were, we had a woodworker, we had a leather worker, we had, trying to think, another candle maker. Yes, Debbie?
A repurposer. A
Right.
repurposer.
Right, a repurposer, right. So that ended up being, I think because so many of those other events had been shut down because of COVID, a tremendously successful. So what I'd say is my sales in the months of December matched that in the peak of my outdoor season because on average, on average. So it was extremely successful. And again, I think it just put everybody in the holiday mood. We had holiday music playing, and we were one of very few opportunities to shop locally like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Just really quick, and then we're going to move on. And if I don't get to your question right now, I'll come back to it in the Q&A at the very end. But Linda was asking, the Fort Thomas Farmers Market logo, is it copyright protected? How do you go about branding your farmers market logo?
We did not have it copyrighted. We have a graphic designer who designed that for us.
Okay. Well, thank you. So, okay, we will, any other questions, I will answer them in the Q&A or we'll answer them privately. But we're going to move on. Next up, we have Brittany Steffi and Margie Stelzer with the Community Farm Alliance, and they are going to go over the many programs that the Community Farm Alliance has to offer the farmers markets in Kentucky.
All right. So as Nancy mentioned, I am Brittany Steffi. I work with Community Farm Alliance as the Food Access Program Director. So that means I'm the coordinator for the Kentucky Double Dollars program, as well as a few of our other food access programs. And my contact info is on the screen here. I'll have it at the end too, and I'll drop it in the chat here in a minute. So we have kind of a multifaceted mission with our program. Of course, it's a food access program, so we want to increase access to local food, especially fresh produce for low-income folks in all the communities we work with. But also we really serve farmers at Community Farm Alliance, of course. So we really want to increase sales and income to Kentucky farmers. And we want to leverage federal food and nutrition program funds. There's a lot of SNAP and WIC and senior funding coming into the state of Kentucky already. And we want as much of that as possible to go to growers that are located here in Kentucky and stay in the communities. This is this past year, all of the counties that were participating. You can see we're spread pretty evenly throughout the state, and we welcome applicants from all over the state. I'll also mention our application period for the program is open right now. I'll get to the application here in just a moment, but the application is due on January 31st at 11:59 p.m. So folks still have a little bit of time if they'd like to apply, and we welcome applications from all markets that would like to participate. So just a little bit about our programs. I know it can get a bit confusing for folks because we are a matching program that offers matching funds for all sorts of different federal benefit programs that folks might use. So we primarily focus on farmers markets and offering matching programs for the WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition programs, which are paper voucher-based programs operated a lot by extension offices or health departments in most counties, as well as SNAP. And we offer fruit and vegetable matching tokens, as well as meat, egg, and dairy matching tokens for SNAP. And those are separate funding sources that markets can apply for. Some markets apply for all four of those, some markets just apply for one. It depends on where your market is and what you have the capacity to operate at any given point. A lot of markets start with asking for funding for the WIC and senior programs to offer matching in their communities for those. And folks can match up to 2 vouchers per day for their customers who bring those vouchers to the market. I won't go through all of these numbers, but I put these up here mostly just to highlight that this past year we distributed just over $155,000 across the state in all of our programs through vouchers and tokens that were redeemed from SNAP, WIC, and senior participants. And particularly, I'd like to highlight the increases that we saw in SNAP. A lot of you who work at markets that accept SNAP already probably saw these at your market. Due to the COVID crisis and a lot of other factors this year, we saw just massive increases in SNAP use across the state. So we have a lot of funding for those programs. We also still, of course, have funding for the WIC and senior programs, but I'd certainly encourage folks to apply for those funds if you accept SNAP or accept those WIC and senior vouchers already. And I always like to include a quote from a farmer that participates, just so folks can kind of see what this looks like on the ground, what this can offer for your market. And I won't read it to you, but I'll give you a moment. This is from Nathan Howell at Need More Acres Farm in Western Kentucky. And this is my contact info again. As I said, I'll drop it in the chat here in just a moment. And I'm going to jump over to our application here. All right. Is that visible in the web browser?
No, it's just your slideshow.
Oh, no. Okay.
Do you want to stop share and then reshare?
No, it's good. I just have to switch it. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yep, I see the application now.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry. We've all been doing this for a year and some of us are still adjusting to Zoom. Sorry, folks. All right. As I said, our program application for farmers markets who'd like to apply for Kentucky Double Dollars funding is open right now. It will close on the 31st of this month, so folks still have some time to apply if you'd like to apply for funds for your market. And we actually have a double program application. It's a combined application with our market manager cost share program, which Margie will talk about here in just a moment when I get to that point. So I'm not going to read through this with you piece by piece. I know everyone can get to this on their own, and I'll drop a link in the chat here in a moment. But I know a lot of folks find our application a little intimidating. Unfortunately, we are a grant-funded program, so we often have to ask for a lot of information. This isn't because we are trying to gather a lot of personal data about anyone or anything like that. But since we're grant-funded, we do have to gather data about your market just to show that our programs are working and doing what they're meant to. So there's some basic info about the program here. We do make sure to include a list of everything that you'll need to apply. The particular things are gross sales for all your vendors for the market for the past 3 years. If your market's new, of course, we don't need it for the past 3 years. If you didn't exist 3 years ago, give us what you have. Estimated redemption information for SNAP, credit or debit cards, anything that you take. Again, if you don't take those or you don't have that data for prior years, that's okay. You can leave some sections blank if you have to. If you're applying for SNAP funds, your SNS authorization, keep in mind that if you're applying for funds for SNAP, you do need to already be authorized by SNS as a SNAP retailer. You need to already be able to accept SNAP. Similarly, if you're applying for funds for the WIC and senior farmers market nutrition programs, you do need to already be authorized to accept those vouchers at your market. We're a matching program, so you already need to be able to accept all those forms of currency before we can match them or offer you funds to match them at the market. And also any information about your market's incorporation, we need you to either be incorporated so you can accept funds for the market or using a fiscal sponsor so that someone can legally accept funds. So the application is fairly straightforward, all kind of basic contact information. We want to know what your market's location is, kind of what the hours look like, basic info about your market. We want to know what the market looks like, and we want to know about you. I'm scrolling through this fairly quickly, but I include my contact info and Margie's at the top of the application. So if you decide to apply and get in here and have any major questions, certainly feel free to reach out to either of us, and we're happy to help you through it too. We also ask if you currently have a market manager and who any people who are working with programs will be, because we'd like to know who all the contacts, all the stakeholders will be at your market. I'll also point out, we call the program a cost share because we do require the market to make some investment in the program. We will cover 75% of the program cost. So when you spend funds on incentives, when you reimburse your farmers for the vouchers or tokens that they've turned in, we'll pay you back for 75% of that. And the market has to fundraise or find a donor, find some other source of funds for the other 25%. All right. Down here at the bottom is where folks can apply for the market manager cost share. You can use this application to apply for one program or the other, or both, depending on what your market needs at any given time. And I'm going to pass this over to Margie now to talk about the cost share program.
My name is Margie Stelzer, and I work with the Farmers Market Support Program with the Market Manager Cost Share. I have two other colleagues, Kristen Coomer, who covers the Central and Western Kentucky areas, and Jennifer Weber, who covers Eastern Kentucky, and I cover the Bluegrass and Northeastern Kentucky regions. Next slide. Market Manager Cost Share is awards up to $2,000 for a market manager with a one-to-one cost share, meaning the market will raise up to $2,000 and CFA will match that. So for a total of up to $4,000 for a market manager. And although we are separate programs, we do operate closely with Brittany, who also is with CFA and their Kentucky Double Dollars program. So we do some support for your market manager if you are trying to accept Kentucky Double Dollars. Next slide. To be eligible, a market must be incorporated and legally allowed to accept funds, or you need to have a fiscal sponsor. You must be in the process of contracting a market manager, which can be right at the beginning of the process that your board has decided that they want to hire a market manager. Or you could have a market manager for years and you're just finding out about this program and you can apply. And you are eligible for this market manager cost share for up to 3 years. Next slide. At the timeline right now, the application is open and it's that combined application with Kentucky Double Dollars, and it'll be open till the end of the month. In around March, CFA will notify the market manager cost share grant recipients. And once the manager is onboarded, then and you have signed your memorandum of understanding with us, we will send out the first check after you have sent us your market manager job description and assigned market manager contract. That's just to assure that your market manager is on board and ready to start receiving wages from you. And then the second check will be mailed out in mid-August so that you get your full cost share. Next slide. I wanted to tell you also about our Farmers Market Toolkit. For participants in the Farmers Market Support Program and the Market Manager Cost Share and Kentucky Double Dollars, we do give technical support, but a lot of information can be found in our toolkit. And I'll drop that into the chat box in a minute. We cover everything from starting a market, growing a market, operating a market, evaluating a market. And I try to keep that updated as new things come in. Lots of legal questions that are covered, lots of basic questions of how to write your rules and regulations, conflict management, and things of that sort are in this toolkit. We also, I don't have a slide on this, but we also have a COVID webpage so that I try to get keep up to date, and we have a template for you to create a guide of how to deal with COVID at your market, and everybody is welcome to use that, and I will drop that link to our COVID webpage in just a minute too. Next slide. We have a newsletter that you can keep up to date with things that are going on with farmers markets in Kentucky. And we also are a membership-based organization, CFA, so you're always welcome to support the work that we do with small farmer families here in Kentucky, as well as supporting farmers markets here in Kentucky. And here is our contact information. Basically, email is firstname@cfaky.org for us to contact any of us. And that's it with me.
Thanks,
I see a
Marcia.
question here of examples of market manager contracts, and that is in the toolkit.
Yeah, and also, I know you guys have examples in the toolkit. K-Card, the Kentucky Center for Ag and Rural Development, which would be kcard.info. They also work a lot with farmers markets, and I know they have some examples too. So there's two different resources that you can pull from. And I don't know if there's any other questions there, but thank you guys so much for sharing. We greatly appreciate it. And so many markets have benefited from the market manager cost share, and also so many vendors and farmers, producers across the state have benefited from being able to, the Double Dollars program, and of course the customers out there that have taken a part in those programs have also benefited. So thank you very much for all that you guys do. There's one other question. Does a market need to join CFA? And if so, is there a cost? There is no.
No, not at this time. You do not need to join CFA to be a part of the market manager cost share.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right. If we don't have any more questions, we're just going to do a quick update. Cindy and Bethany, we're going to update you from the Kentucky Horticultural Council about some various direct marketing programs that are going on. So Cindy or Bethany?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. I will make this quick. I know I'm between people and eating dinner, so I will fly through this as fast as I can. My name is Bethany Precopa. I am the Direct Marketing Program Manager at KHC. I came into this role towards the end of July, and since that time have had the honor of meeting some of you market managers, but I will be continuing that into the spring and summer. I am always here for support, and my email will be in the chat at some point, or I'll get it in there. I will show you a quick PowerPoint really quick with just some of our, let's see. Okay, so just a quick update. So some of the things that we've been doing since I started at the end of July, we have something called the Tuesday Take Along. This has been a highlight on farmers markets for the most part, but once farmers markets started to shut down for the winter, we just moved that towards farms, and in December we did like Christmas tree farms and things like that, but now heading back into farmers market season, we will start featuring more farmers markets again. We did a little bit of work with that with CFA, just in terms of we wanted to feature an array of markets. So we did ones that weren't a part of the Community Farm Alliance, that weren't covered by them, just so that we could get as many markets displayed as possible. So I'm excited to pick that back up heading into the spring. We're going to start doing CSA promotion. So a lot of your farms, I know, do CSAs. There is a CSA fair, that's Kentucky Proud, that will be happening towards the end of February. And we are just heading into CSA promotion time. What we have also been doing is something called Fresh Friday. So if you see on our Facebook page, which is just Kentucky Horticulture Council, we've been doing this, which is basically just, we will feature a farm at 11 o'clock on Fridays, and we do a write-up about kind of the history, what makes them special. We will add in some nice pictures. Now, in the time of COVID, it has been a little bit difficult. Some farms are more comfortable with you coming to visit than others are. So for the ones that I have been able to visit, I've been able to get some really nice quality pictures for them to use. For the other ones, I've just taken pictures that they have displayed or will like send to me. So it's been really nice for that. And we use some of the products that they have at that time that's in season, and we will do a cooking demo on that. So you can see some examples here. I went out to Happy Jack's and made pumpkin mac and cheese. And some of them have a variety of recipes. Some of them only have one, but it has been really, really popular with our demographic. we've been happy with the numbers we've been receiving, and the farms seem to be really happy about the exposure. So we've been loving that. We've also been doing something called the Local Food Challenge. So this just started at the beginning of the year. This is just us encouraging people to go out and support their farmers market if it's still open, or to go out and support a local farm, cook something with that, take a picture and tag us at #KHCLocal, just so that we can see, you know, what kind of food is inspiring them right now. And we randomly will select one of them to get $25 towards the CSA of their choice or a farm store. So we're just trying to do some local promotion, and we're excited to see those coming in. We'll be drawing on the last day of this month. And then finally, we have the Agriculture Direct Marketing Summit. Now this is February 16th through 18th, and this is a free and virtual summit. This is going to be really good. If you heard Megan speak a little bit earlier, she is going to be one of our speakers talking about value-added products. It's going to be really great. We have a social media speaker. We have a number of great topics. And our third day is an ag producer panel that is going to be talking about the successes of 2020, what they're bringing into 2021, and some of the things that they have learned. So I would highly recommend that you suggest this to any of your vendors that are involved in direct marketing. This is not just for fruits and vegetables. This is meat, eggs, dairy. This is everything direct marketing. So we're excited about this. You're going to see more promotion for this at the beginning of February, but just get this on your calendars while you can. And we're really excited. We have some great partners on for that. And then here's my contact information. Like I said, I will be heading out this spring and summer to hopefully meet all of you, as many of you as I can. But if you have any questions, I do work with farmers markets, agritourism, horticulture enterprises. So if you have any questions or need some help with something, please shoot me an email or a text message or a call. I would love to help you. And I hope I made that quick, Nancy. I tried my best.
I just
No,
have
you
one.
did-
Oh, sorry. I just have one quick other thing. We're looking for advisory council members. So a direct marketing advisory council to give us some input, to help, you know, identify what the needs are. And I'm going to drop that link in the chat.
Okay. All right. Okay, I was reading the chat here. I apologize. There was a question about how long markets have to be operating before you can qualify for KDD or the Kentucky Double Dollars. And Brittany answered that. It's in the chat there. We also had a question about sampling. We know sampling sells. We have preached that and preached that and preached that, and we hated this past year when sampling was not allowed. We are really hoping to we are going to be working with the food safety branch, and we are hoping to be able to bring back sampling in some form or fashion, spring, summer, earlier in the market season. So we're working on that. We do know where we were at in Kentucky as far as with the farmers markets and with sampling. We were right on pace with, or right in line with what other markets were doing across the country or other states. And at the very end of the season, some markets or some states were allowing it, but highly discouraging it. So we're going to work with the food safety branch, see how we can develop some new guidelines to offer samples safely at the market, and hopefully have that out to you sometime spring, early summer. So stay tuned. I will definitely pass that along to all of the market managers and market leadership once I have that information. We will be sending in the summary of this, all the information that was in the chat and stuff like that will be summarized. So when you get the link to to view this again, that information will be with that. I don't know if we have any other questions. Cindy, please jump in if we do have any other questions. Just really quick, I want to hit on a couple things. One, don't forget about the promotional grant that the Kentucky Department of Ag offers. It's a 50-50 cost share on any promotional items, so that covers anything from advertising to signs, giveaways, you name it. There's a whole slew of items that it covers. You want to apply for it. You would estimate how much money you need, you apply for it, and then after you're approved for it, then you can spend the money and be reimbursed. So make sure you please apply and be approved before you spend the money. And we will drop the link to that in the chat. Also, I know I send out emails about this all the time to those of you that get my emails, but please keep your market information up to date with me as far as the location you're meeting, when you're meeting, what time you are meeting. And especially this time of the year, late fall through the winter, early spring and stuff, your times change and stuff like that. Or maybe you decide to open the market for the winter time and you weren't going to do that. Please let us know. We share that not only on our Kentucky Proud website, we use it for some other promotional items, and we share that listing with the Hort Council and our other partners. So it really helps us if we have the most up-to-date information. So just shoot me an email and make sure I have that information. So that is about all that I have. I hope everybody has enjoyed this and found it very beneficial. We do have a survey that we would like you to take a few minutes to fill out. I believe Cindy is putting that in the chat. Please take a few minutes and fill that out. That helps us know what you need. So not only are you rating this particular short course, but we're going to ask about what are ideas for future topics. And, if we don't get feedback from you, then we're just pulling out different ideas that we think are good. So please give us the feedback. It really does help us, and we greatly appreciate it. And if anybody has any interest in serving on the advisory council, you can email myself or Cindy, and we will definitely get that, compile that information. So if there are no more questions or anything, once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you
Nancy?
Yes.
I have one quick thing. I put a note in from the Center for Crop Diversification, the price reporting tool. They've been doing some work on an electronic version and are looking for volunteers. So if any
awesome.
market is interested, then they can sign up, get more information. And then also I dropped a link in there for the new price report for farmers markets. So if vendors are looking at pricing information, how to set their prices, what the averages are, there's a link to that too. And all that's on the Center for Crop Diversification website.
Awesome. Thank you, Cindy. The Center for Crop Diversification, they have so much information on their website. If you are a market that already participates in the price reporting, thank you very much. And if you have not participated, please consider doing so, especially if it's going electronic and stuff. The markets and vendors across the state really depend on that information that the CCD puts out. So the more markets that we have from around the state reporting their prices, the better it is. So once again, thank you there, Cindy, and thanks to those markets that already help report prices. But thank you to everybody that was on our panel. I greatly appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday evening to present, and to everybody that attended, thank you again for attending. And if you have any questions, please reach out to any of us, and I look forward to seeing everybody this upcoming season. Take care.